The biggest fight of this decade! Canelo Alvarez versus Terence Crawford! At first glance, this matchup looks like it has a clear, bigger man.
A stocky 5'7" frame, broad chest, and 70 inches reach create the image of raw power. His fights at super middleweight and even light heavyweight reinforce that impression, with Canelo Alvarez making many believe he naturally outsizes welterweights like Terence Crawford. Yet when you look closer at the actual numbers, the surprise is undeniable. Crawford actually stands taller at 5'9", with a much longer 74-inch reach, giving him the physical edge that isn't obvious until you see them side by side. And when it comes to finishing ability, it's Crawford who holds the higher knockout ratio at 76%, compared to Canelo's 62%. Even more telling, in the last 4 years, Alvarez has gone the distance in all of his fights without a single knockout win, while Crawford has stopped nearly every opponent he has faced. With this information in mind, the fight becomes far more intriguing, especially considering how both men have prepared for it in recent years. While Canelo has adjusted his style to pace himself across 12 rounds, Crawford has been tailoring his preparation specifically for this matchup. In his last fight, he deliberately moved up in weight to face Israil Madrimov, a pressure fighter who would force him to work the full 12 rounds. Crawford intentionally went the distance in that bout to test himself in the new division. If he was able to stay sharp for 12 rounds against Madrimov, he should be able to handle Canelo, who has a tendency to switch off in certain moments.
What surprised me was that it seemed like Alvarez started to get winded too early. I could really see the fatigue. After the second half, I saw it in his actions, in his eyes, in the way he moved. Did that surprise you or not?
No, it didn't surprise me, because I saw the same thing in his previous fights. In all of them, in probably all 3 of his last fights, it was the same thing. And I kind of tried to work like he does on the heavy bag. I thought, why does this happen to him? So, what was he doing? He goes after his opponent and just throws these wild swings, like 3 big shots. Bam, bam, bam. He doesn't get hit with any kind of counter combination. He takes a couple of breaths and then goes right back to throwing punches. But when you stand in front of the heavy bag and start throwing 3 hard punches with all your strength, it really takes a lot out of you. And if you miss your target, you waste even more energy. And if you swing and hit nothing but air, it drains you even more. And I noticed that when no one counters him, he feels comfortable. But as soon as someone starts firing back after those hard punches, he immediately gets flustered and starts breathing heavily. And basically, that's what happened here too. He would get tired after throwing his power shots. Of course, you land 3 big punches and want to take a breather, but then a counter comes flying right at you.
Crawford is a switch hitter, meaning he can fight effectively from both orthodox and southpaw stances. His foot positioning is usually wide, giving him strong ring control and making his footwork one of his greatest weapons. At times, he'll use the Philly shell or L guard defensively, but more often, he prefers a forward open stance. Unlike the traditional tight guard, Crawford keeps his elbows looser and further from his body. This unorthodox approach helps him establish control, measure distance with ease, and parry or deflect incoming shots. This becomes especially effective when he fights from the southpaw stance. From there, he extends his lead hand to control space and dictate the rhythm of the fight. Switching stances is not just a tool for Crawford, it's a defining element of his style. He transitions between orthodox and southpaw seamlessly, even mid-combination. This not only confuses opponents, but also creates constant openings. To pull this off, his footwork must be precise, and it is. His lateral movement allows him to evade while staying perfectly balanced to counter. From southpaw, he often uses his extended lead hand as more than just a rangefinder. He mixes in subtle touches, feints, and parries to keep his opponent guessing. Though his jab is sometimes overlooked, it's an underrated weapon, especially from southpaw, where he uses it to manage distance and set up combinations. Defensively, he also relies on his lead hand to parry and instantly fire back with a jab or looping counter. Crawford's counterpunching is one of his deadliest weapons. His mastery of distance punishes opponents when they fall short with their punches. He can counter over the top with looping shots, or even punch at the same time, catching opponents with hooks and overhands when they throw lazy or tentative punches. Against hesitant fighters, Crawford forces action with his trademark southpaw 2-3 combination. Opponents often cover up, allowing him to land clean power shots. If they try to respond after his straight left, Crawford anticipates it and nails them with a perfectly timed lead hook. Against Canelo, though, the challenge is unique. Alvarez fights behind a compact, active high guard, steadily pressing forward to close the distance and unleash power shots. That means Crawford will need to spend more time on the outside, establishing his jab, feinting, and constantly moving laterally to prevent Canelo from setting his feet. Still, he can't simply run. At times, he'll need to hold his ground, smother Canelo's offense, and fire back, much like he did against David Avanesian. The biggest question is whether his counters at this higher weight will carry enough power to make Canelo respect them. Here, the southpaw stance could play a pivotal role. While Crawford sometimes starts orthodox to study his opponent, his southpaw position gives him extra time and space, better distance control with the lead hand, and crucial reaction windows. Vital against someone with Canelo's fight IQ. For Crawford,